Hello and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, the weekly show where we save up our best conversations in the office and record them just for you, our lovely audience. This week, with the nights drawing in and Christmas lights going up, we started to think about what games from 2019 we definitely want to tick off the to-play list before 2020 arrives. First up is Dave, with a game I've already played actually. Keep up, Dave.
Okay, you need to play this game in the next, what have we got now? Month and a half? Like, you've just got to get it done. You've got to get it done. The reason being is that it's amazing. That's why. It's not because there's any kind of time benefit to doing it before 2020 or something else is going to come along, or you just owe it to yourself to play this game. It's, I think, my favourite game for a long time. It's come along and smacked me right in the face and said, look how amazing I am. And it is Outer Wilds.
Oh, awesome!
It's so good, and it was a game that I was aware of. I'd read some amazing things about it, and I was excited. But when I played it on stream a couple of weeks ago, and this was on Nathan's, I had to play Nathan's copy because Nathan had a copy of it. It absolutely just like took hold of me, and it's like perfectly for me, I think. Space mystery with physics puzzles and just like exploring an incredible, I just love its kind of wonder at the universe. And I mean, it's got like one of the very first things you do is go into an observatory, which has basically got kind of like museum exhibits about space. One of the exhibits is just some balls in a dish that roll from side to side depending on where the moon is around the planet at that time. And that is actually accurately generated. And you can jump up and down and see the effects of gravity on you as well in the game. It's all completely like realistically worked out. The wonder of it is amazing. There's a planet, so I've not finished the game. I don't know how far through I am, but I'm just enjoying every second of it. There's a planet called Bitter Hollow, which is basically a planet's crust around a black hole.
That sounds amazing.
And there's a moon which is like volcanic, which fires flaming kind of balls of rock at this planet in real time. You can be walking on the surface of this planet and you see this giant ball of molten rock smash through the planet, and it takes the crust and it throws it into the black hole. And some amazing things have happened to me. I got separated from my ship. It was on this planet actually. I got blown off the planet away from my ship whilst I was floating in space because I was in my spacesuit. The ship, part of the planet that my ship was on, got hit by this lava, and then the ship went flying off into space, and I was desperately trying to catch up to my ship in my space suit, but then my fuel ran out, and then I was having to use oxygen as a propellant, and my oxygen was running out. I was like, am I going to make it? And I got right next to my ship as my oxygen ran out, and just a horrible kind of gasping death happened right next to my ship. You have to go out and repair your ship in space, and obviously like sometimes if you don't pay attention to like how close you are to a planet, or if something's going to come nearby, you'll suddenly get sucked in to the gravitational pull. And I was like repairing my ship and suddenly realized that we were fast descending onto a planet's surface, and I like had to try and get inside really quickly and like fire it up to escape the gravitational pull. It's absolutely incredible. It's blown me away, and every second in there is just like wondrous and exciting, and the sense of exploration and discovering and unraveling this mystery is just absolutely second to none. And I absolutely implore you to please go and play it as soon as you can. You've got a month and a half. That's the deadline I've set.
My game that I want everybody to play before 2020, please, is Path of Exile.
I've not even heard of this game.
Here we
What?
go.
Heard of it?
Path of Exile is an action RPG. It was made by a community of people who really love action RPGs, and they just wanted to make a big free version for people to play. And so it starts off with this like great feeling of it coming from a place of just absolute love for the genre. It's like people who have dissected it in the best possible way, figured out what makes it so great, and then been like, here's a free version of the best like ARPG. and it's procedurally generated. So you can also play it forever,
Nice.
which is key. And basically you are, you wake up on the beach in a world called Rayclast, and it's a colony for people who've done bad things. And I don't think you know why you're there. I think you just wake up and you're like, what? This is so unfair. And basically the world is horrible, like just really brutal. I think I'm using their exact language, which is that they're like the brutal, unforgiving world of Raycast, but it genuinely is like really, if you want to play like a really fun kind of hardcore ARPG, this is the game for you. And it's just really enjoyable. So one of the best things about it is it's got the basic classes like any game in that genre, but then it has this enormous skill tree that has like over 1,000 options, and so you can completely customize your character to be like to the minutest detail exactly what you like. So if there's a tiny bit of, obviously for me, I play the Marauder and then the Berserker subclass of that, which is, as you'd imagine, it's like a rage-filled nightmare. And but then if you like secretly quite like carrying a bow, you can then put some like points into that so that you could just, when you needed to, like whip out a bow. And so it lets you just play it exactly how you want it. It doesn't, which is I think a problem with some ARPGs, is that they really define you in classes that you might not fit, because we're all individual and we all got play styles of our own. And so that's something I really love, because it just means you can, you know, and particularly because when it's got this big community, everybody posts their builds online, and so you can kind of think about how you want to play, and then instead of having to look through 1,000 passives and be like, what would be the best way to build that, you can just go online and be like, I'm a really angry person and I like axes. tell me what I should be.
By Anonymous.
Yeah. It also just looks really great. Like the world is really beautiful. If you like kind of Diablo, it's just very similar to that in that it's like very dark and looks very, there's lots of like mysticism and old ruins and lots of different locations. And as I said, they're procedurally generated. So, you know, the first time I finished it, for some reason I didn't realize it was procedurally generated. And I got to the end and I was so sad. And someone was like, you know, you can just play again. And I was like, oh, what? And so that's like the best thing. And it genuinely, some things are procedurally generated and you're like, but it feels very similar. But this is different enough that you genuinely feel like you're having another playthrough of it. And then the attacks are just very satisfying. They've got really good attacks, really good animations. So like I remember the first time I played through, I had like these things that just like rend the earth and like tear it apart in front of you. And I think I could do like this big whirlwind, and they just feel, there's something about the way they design them that they feel really good and you feel really powerful, especially by the end, because obviously you're like building up your level, and then by the end you just feel like insane, which does make it a bit sad when you start again, you're like, eh. But you know where you're going, so it feels amazing. And I just think it's a game that, particularly because we've now had Diablo 4 announced, and at some point that's coming, I feel like you need to play it now.
Got you.
You know, and also you get free content all the time, so you're just, the longer you wait to play it, the more you've got to catch up on, because they literally release, I think it's every 13 weeks they release more free content, and like not just little things, there's like big, huge updates, like there's been loads of expansions to it. So the longer you wait, the more homework you have to do. So basically I've just like everybody to play it before 2020. Thank you.
Yes, miss. Before 2020 begins, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you find the time in your life to play this game, because it's just fantastic. The game that I would like to recommend is Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Early days back in January, and if you still haven't played it, why?
Good question. Good question.
The thing, everyone sees Resident Evil, obviously it is a horror game. It's a horror series and things like that. And like, even with me with horror games, they terrify me. So if I had never played, I was like, oh my God, this game looks really scary. Do I want to be in a scary game? But honestly, it's just, the whole game is just phenomenally good. And we've got around, it is a month and a half until the year ends. And the game isn't really that long, Dave, because you've fully played it. I'm still on the Leon campaign.
I've completed the Leon campaign and I'm halfway through Claire.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would agree. I think because it's split like that, it's not that long.
Yeah.
And it's super enjoyable.
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
talking now, you should talk. Sorry.
But I've been playing it throughout the year, so I've played it from when it first came out, and myself, my boyfriend, we've been playing it in like segments just because we don't want it to end. And every time we just carry on playing it again, we're still just like, my God, this game is phenomenal. Like the sound design in it is fantastic. We're playing it and you just go into a room and you just hear all sorts of incredibly creepy noises. It's like an experience that it's just an amazing experience. And for those of you who think like, oh, the game's going to be really scary for me, it is terrifying, especially the beginning segments when you're still getting used to the game and there's a lot of incredibly dark corridors and the police station and you have Mr. X. Like, it is terrifying, but it's like a thrilling terrifying. You're never like, I mean, at least I've never really had much of an experience where I'm like, oh God, I paused the game and I don't want to touch it for like a good 10 minutes. Like, I hear the noises, but I still want to carry on going forward. And then after a while, you get used to the zombies and they start and then they could surprise you. They'll just open a door and then you could just be ready, headshot them, boom, and it's so satisfying. And the controls in it are so satisfying as well, and the way that the inventory management is incredibly similar to Resident Evil 7, so it's really slick, quick, and you'll just sort of like go bam bam and it's done. It looks amazing. The characters, the way they've redesigned them, and the whole game really, it stays so true to the original as well as bringing something completely new and fresh. It's just been one of those games this year that has just completely blown me away with how fantastic I thought it is. And even though I haven't started Claire yet, but I'm just coming to the end of Leon's campaign, we're definitely hoping to finish it by 2020, but we've just been playing it in segments just to make it last a bit longer, because honestly it's so good and you can finish it in a month and a half, I reckon. So if you've got some time, that's what I'd recommend before 2020 begins.
Okay, if I could recommend one game for you to play before we get to 2020, I think it would have to be Ninokuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered, to give it its full name. People should not forget about Ninokuni, especially if you played and enjoyed Ninokuni 2. Personally, I think Ninokuni 1 is even better. I think it's I put it in my top 5 JRPGs possibly ever. Like,
It's fantastic.
It's a perfect encapsulation of what is good about JRPGs. It's got a story with a really strong emotional hook. I won't spoil what happens at the beginning, but immediately you're very emotionally invested in this story. It's got an incredible magical world viewed through the lens of a very young child, and I often find when narratives frame these magical worlds through the eyes of a child, it sort of elicits this sense of wonder. It's very easy to feel the wonder of a place when you're looking at it through the eyes of a kid, and Drippy helps as well, who I think is one of the all-time great video game characters. Like, brilliantly acted, amazingly written. The localization job on that game from Japanese into English is the best I've ever seen. It's so good how they've tweaked Drippy, who's this little character who in the English version has a Welsh accent. I think he had a different regional accent in the Japanese version. I don't know which region of Japan Drippy was from, but in the English version he's Welsh, and they've not just translated Japanese into English, they've added, I don't know what you'd call them, Welshisms.
I just love it when he always goes like, oh, knickers.
He says things that you would imagine a person with a very heavy Welsh accent saying, and it's great. He's such a warm, lovable character, and the world is just a joy to explore, and it's got that perfect pacing of, it's a classic quest, it's a classic journey. Everything you go through is like a magical, wondrous place, and now we're at this beautiful forest, and then it opens out into this lovely sort of world map area that you can explore, and it's a classic JRPG story of bad guy wants to destroy the world, chosen one has to save the world. Also with a really cool battle system involving little monsters who are called familiars in the game that you can catch and train and feed. You can sort of feed them up. And and each monster has a different type of food that they like. So one monster, one familiar may like chocolate bars, and another may like ice cream. Nothing particularly healthy. These familiars subsist solely on a diet of sugar and fat, but
They love you more when you give.
Yeah, they do, and they absolutely love it, and they evolve and they grow strong, and by the end you'll have this amazing party. You get 3 human characters in your party, and each of those characters has 3 familiars they can send into battle. So you've got this amazing sort of tactical battle system that belies the visuals of the game. So to look at it, you might think, oh, it's a kid's game. It's absolutely not. It's very much a game that if you have any interest in RPGs or anything, you should absolutely play Ninokuni, because it's a magical, wonderful game.
Before 2020 ends, I highly recommend that you play this.
Yeah.
We're not giving people a year and a month.
Yeah, something tells me the end of 2020 is going to be a different story altogether. Exciting times ahead. Let us know what games from this year are on your must-play pile. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and click that notification bell so you're always up to date with everything PlayStation.
For the players.